guys, so we're going to continue on in our story. So next we are going to be reading Dr. Lanyon's tale. So based on just this picture here, let's evaluate what is going to happen in this story. So in the corner here you have Dr. Lanyon, and here you're starting to see the face of who? Who do you think this is? So here the sentence says, "The horror that Dr. Lanyon saw lived in his mind day and night." Have you ever had an experience that lived in your mind day and night that you could never get rid of? All right, so now that you've responded to those questions in the Ed puzzle, let's go ahead and actually start our reading. So as Mr. Utterson read Dr. Lanyon's letter, his heart was beating so fast that he thought it would explode. On the 9th of January, I received a very strange letter from my old friend, Henry Jackal. He told me that his life, his honor, and his reason were all in my hands. Then he asked me to go to his house. Poole would show me to the office where I was to open the desk and take out the fourth drawer. I was to bring its contents back to my house and wait for a man who would come to pick up the things in Jackal's name. Upon reading this letter, I was sure my friend was not in his right mind, but I had to do what he asked. I went to the doctor's house where Poole was waiting for me. He had also received a letter telling him to admit me. He was told to have special men ready to break into the laboratory office. After 2 hours of work, the door stood open. I took out the drawer, had it tied in the sheet, and returned with it to my house. Once at home, I examined its contents with great care. The drugs were neatly made up. One of the packages contained a simple white salt, and there was a test tube of some red liquid. I wondered from what strange cargo Dr. Jackal had gotten that mixture. I was not sure of its purpose, but a guess was enough to scare me. There was also a book of notes written in Jackal's hand. They seemed to be records of some sort of experiments. The word double was written next to many of the dates. This whole matter seemed strange to me. How could these things in my house affect the life of my friend? I came to believe that Jackal was suffering from some sickness of the mind, which made him act this way. Midnight had just rung over London when there came a soft knock on my door. I heard the sound of a freight horn. A short man was standing in the shadows. "Did Dr. Jackal send you?" I asked. He told me yes, and I bid him enter. When he stepped into the light, I must say I got quite a scare. I was struck by the wild look on his face. The hair above his lip did not form a mustache, but went strangely in all directions. "Have you got it?" he cried. "Have you got it?" He was so very excited that he put his hand on my arm and tried to shake me. I tried to calm him, but it was no use. He had to put his hand over his throat to control himself. "There it is, sir," said I, pointing to the drawer on the floor. He jumped at it with a force as great as the animals of a stampede. "Calm yourself," I said, for I feared his life and reason. He gave me a horrible smile, and then took off the cover of the drawer. Looking at its contents, he let out a cry. Then he turned to me and became so calm that I found it hard to believe it was the same man who had stampeded in a moment before. He took the drugs from Dr. Jackal's strange cargo and put them in a glass. The mixture began to change from red to purple to green. Then the contents of the glass exploded in a small cloud of smoke. "And now," he said, "what will you do, sir? Will you learn what I learned? If so, you will know a power no man has known before. Think before you answer. You can learn or you can stay as you are, neither richer nor wiser." "Sir," I said, "you confuse me, but I have gone too far to pause before I see the end." "It is well," he said. "Look!" He put the glass to his lips and drank. He cried out, staggered, and grabbed at the table. His eyes widened and his mouth fell open. As I looked on, his face swelled and turned dark. His nose, eyes, and mouth vanished. I jumped back against the wall in terror. "Oh no!" I screamed again and again, for before my eyes there stood Henry Jackal. What he told me in the next hour I cannot bring to my mind to set on paper. What I saw and what I heard made me sick. Now terror sits by me at all hours of the night and day, and I know I must die. I will say but one last thing, Utterson, and try to believe it. The creature who came to my house that night and turned into Henry Jekyll was none other than Mr. Hyde, Hasty Lanyon. So it's a lot to think about. So we learned something very important from this chapter today. I want you to tell me what that was.